Blues in the Night, directed by Anatol Litvak and released by Warner Brothers in 1941. I'm Andrew Olson. Welcome to a classic cinema review. Clarinetist Nicky, played by Elia Kazan, tries to talk talented piano player Jigger Pine, played by Richard Wharf, and drummer Peppy, played by Billy Harlop, into starting a new jazz band. Jigger declines, but after mixing it up with a drunk in the bar they're playing at, the three get tossed in jail where they have a chance reunion with bass player Pete, played by Peter Whitney. The four end up discussing their future and hear the prisoners in the adjacent cell to them singing genuine New Orleans blues, which inspires them to form their own band and go out on the road as soon as they can. They slowly work their way down to New Orleans, where they end up meeting conceited, loudmouth ace trumpet player Leo, played by Jack Carson, and his wife, affectionately called Character, played by Priscilla Lane. They both end up joining the band. Riding empty boxcars and hitchhiking their way across the country from town to town, they eventually run afoul of escaped convict Del Davis, played by Lloyd Nolan. Del Davis holds them up initially, trying to take their money, but then warms to the group and decides to invite them to a small roadhouse cafe slash gambling den where he invites them to stay on as the house band as a regular job. It is here that the strength of the unit is tested farther than ever before, not only by the conflicting personalities within the band, but by all the disreputable characters in Del's circle, which include an opportunist played by Howard Del Silvia, a hopeless hanger-on of a cripple played by Wallace Ford, and a conniving femme fatale named Kay, played by Betty Davis. How do I classify this film? Well, I suppose I should just call it a film noir musical. I could add melodrama in there as a third genre, I suppose. In a nutshell, it's a movie about a newly formed band that doesn't have very much, but they love what they do and they want to play the music that they want to play. And they head out on the road to do just that, hoping to make it big. Now, there have been many stories, many movies, particularly in the rock and roll era. And certainly in real life, how many people have gone out, formed a band, and hit the road? So it's not an uncommon story. But then there's another story that starts somewhere in the middle of the film. That is the film noir story with the character of Del Davis and the crowd of people that he knows. And that's kind of where things start to get mixed up, and not in a good way. It is interesting, however, that the band, this is 1941, so it's not a rock band. They don't have electrical instruments. It's an acoustic jazz band. Instead of loading up all of their guitars and amplifiers into a van and touring the country, they end up riding empty boxcars from town to town aboard freight trains. And looking back through the years, that's kind of an interesting way to look at a touring band that is really kind of down on its luck and trying to scrape nickels and dimes together to make it, using the freight trains instead of using an old van to drive around in. And I kind of enjoyed that. I thought that was an interesting take. But of course, back in 1941, rail travel was the best way to get from place to place. So there is that aspect to think about as well. So we have the musical part, and when Lloyd Nolan's character Del Davis shows up, the film noir aspect all of a sudden kind of seeps in and then takes over. Incidentally, the music in the film is good. The score for the movie fit everything very well. There are, I think, 4 or 5 songs, including the song "Blues in the Night," which the movie was named after. And the song was written specifically for this film. If you were wondering where that song came from, Harold Arlen and did the he wrote the songs, and Johnny Mercer did the lyrics for the songs. And these two guys added a number of songs throughout the years to the American Songbook. Jimmy Lunsford and his band shows up when Jigger Pine's band is in New Orleans, and Will Osborne and his band also make an appearance in New York City. So the music is good. The songs were enjoyable for the most part. There's 1 or 2 that are kind of hokey, but all in all, they were fairly upbeat, and I didn't mind. I don't mind the jazz era because there's a lot of upbeat tunes that are just they're positive, and you need that. Priscilla Lane did her own singing in the film. The rest of the cast apparently were not musically inclined, so I believe they were all dubbed. Their instrumental work was all dubbed, and their singing as well. But Priscilla Lane did a great job handling the songs. Uh, the directing was decent, although it was kind of slow at times. The cinematography, I think, is probably the more notable part. Everything is framed well, going from one character to another. Uh, the transition from inside a building to outside or outside to inside was all performed very well by the camera crew. So again, I have to give thumbs up for that aspect of the movie. And of course, the movie starts out with the band, and Jigger Pine, played by Richard Wharf, has a line when they are putting the band together. He says that it has to be a small group, 5 or 6 people. It's kind of like a glove on a hand. You've got 5 fingers on the glove, but they all work together as one unit. And as the movie progresses into the film noir genre, throughout the latter half of the movie, that aspect is kind of lost for a little while. You don't really get the sense that Jigger is the main character of the movie. It's kind of implied, I suppose, in a few spots in the beginning because he's the one who people look up to. He's the talented one who can lead the band, but he's also thin-skinned, I suppose you could say, not really sure of himself. And this leads him to start making questionable decisions throughout the film, towards the latter half at least. And the story actually focuses on him. We kind of lose sight of everybody else, and all of a sudden we're focused on him, and the balance of the story kind of gets lost. It just tilts off kilter severely, I think. All they really had to do was focus on Jigger's point of view, and then give us the perspective of the other characters, his band, and everybody else. Just let us in on what's going on with them. But we don't get that, so it's very off balance. I don't really know what else to say about it. So it's the how the two stories or the two genres are put together that really they don't balance well. That's what I'm trying to get at. There are some interesting montages in this film that they border on the psychedelic. Again, this is sort of like a precursor to the rock and roll era. People, young bands going out on the road, and this is kind of a precursor to for the montages to that era as well. They were done very well, cutting edge cinematography and overlaying images and so on and so forth. It was interesting to see. And if you're a film student, you look at those just for inspiration, I suppose. I'm going to go ahead and give this film a 3 out of 5 star rating. Again, if you pick it apart, piece by piece, there's a lot to like out of individual pieces, but when you mash it all together, it's kind of like the director had a pizza party in mind. He had the pizza dough and he had all the trimmings, all the toppings. But then when he started to make the pizza, he realized that he was short on the sauce. And the only thing he had in the kitchen was maple syrup. Well, I like pizza. Nice, big, juicy pizza with all the toppings. And I like maple syrup. But if you put the two together, that's a recipe for disaster. So I can't recommend this film very highly. There's a lot of interesting stuff to it, and if you like the jazz and early blues era, then it might just be worth checking out for the music alone. But aside from that, it's sort of like a rainy Saturday kind of a film, but not so much, because if it's a rainy Saturday, it might actually depress you a little bit. So uh, pick a suitable day to watch it. So that wraps up my review of Blues in the Night. I hope you enjoyed it, found it helpful, or at the very least somewhat entertaining. Um, I will be back with more reviews in the near future. Please hit that like button if you found it helpful, enjoyable, and so on and so forth. Hit that subscribe button for more reviews coming soon. And leave me a comment down below. If you've seen the movie, please let me know what you thought of it. And let me know if you found the review helpful and if you will see the movie based on what I told you. I'm Andrew Olson again, and I look forward to seeing all of you next time. Hold it, don't go anywhere. Before you leave, I want to give a quick shout out to Jerry over at drmacro.com for letting me have the movie posters and photographs that you've seen next to me here in my video. This is the second time they've helped me out, all the folks at drmacro.com. I don't know if it's just Jerry over there or if there's a whole crew, but thank you for letting me have those. This is the second review that I've been able to get material from drmacro.com, and I very much appreciate it. So thank you, Jerry. Please go to drmacro.com and check out what they have to offer. They have high-resolution scans of old photographs, movie posters, and more from the bygone era of Hollywood. And I really appreciate all that they're doing over there. So thank you very much to Jerry and drmacro.com, and thank you all for watching. I'll see you next time.